All right, let's talk about one of the most important documents in any construction project, but one that a surprising number of people get wrong, the Notice to Proceed. We're going to call it the NTP. Think of it as the official starting gun for the project, and understanding it is absolutely key. So let's break it down.
This seems like it should have a really obvious answer, right? You've been through all the meetings, the negotiations are done, and finally, everyone signs the contract. So the contractor just starts working the next day, yeah? That's when the clock starts ticking, isn't it?
Well, actually, no. And this is the first big hurdle people stumble over. Signing that contract is a huge step, for sure, but it is not the green light to start mobilizing crews and putting shovels in the ground. There's almost always a gap between the signatures and the actual start of work.
So what is this gap? Let's call it the pre-construction gap. And it might feel like a delay, but it's not. It's actually a really critical, planned-out phase that makes sure everything is perfectly in place before that project clock officially starts running.
Yeah, this isn't just dead time. This waiting period is all about getting the final ducks in a row. It's when the contractor has to handle all the essential prep work and, you guessed it, paperwork.
The road to go has a few clear steps. First, the agreement gets signed. Great. But then, the contractor has to go gather a whole bunch of documents. We're talking things like certificates of insurance, performance and payment bonds, all the stuff the owner needs for protection. Then, the owner has to actually review and accept those documents. And only after all that is done can the owner finally give the official go-ahead.
And that official go-ahead, that's what brings us to the hero of our story today, the Notice to Proceed. The NTP is the document that finally closes that pre-construction gap and gets the ball rolling.
So, to be super clear, the NTP isn't just a friendly email or a phone call. It is a formal, written, legally binding contract document. Its whole purpose is to tell the contractor officially when to start the work. It establishes the exact start date.
And honestly, there's no better way to think about it. If the project is a race against the calendar, the Notice to Proceed is the starter's pistol. Bang! And the race is on. Everything that comes after, every schedule, every milestone, is measured from that exact moment.
Okay, so if this NTP is so powerful, that begs a pretty important question. Who's actually in charge of it? Who puts it together? And more importantly, who has the final authority to issue it? Now, this is a really key distinction. On a lot of jobs, the architect or the engineer might be the one who actually prepares the document. They type it up and fill in the dates. But because this is a formal authorization tied to the contract, it has to be signed and issued by the owner. The AE does the legwork, but only the owner has the authority to actually fire that starting gun.
All right, so we know what it is and we know who sends it. But what's actually in a Notice to Proceed? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the different parts.
They're usually pretty straightforward, no-fluff documents. You'll see it's addressed right to the contractor, it'll name the specific project, and of course it's got to be signed by the owner. But the absolute heart of the NTP, the entire reason it exists, is that one specific line, the official date that work is to begin. Sometimes it'll also spell out the project duration, say 180 calendar days, or list the required substantial completion date.
So now we get to the real meat of it. Why are we so obsessed with this one document and this one date? Well, because the stakes tied to that official start date are incredibly high. It's because that one date on the NTP officially starts the project clock. It removes every single bit of ambiguity. There are no more arguments about, oh, I thought we were starting last week, or we were waiting for your call. This is it. This is the definitive, documented starting line.
And just look at what's tied to that clock. The entire project duration is counted from that NTP date. Big, important milestones like the substantial completion date, calculated from that date. And crucially, this is where it hits the wallet. Any financial penalties for being late, or even bonuses for finishing early, they all start counting from the date on the NTP. This is especially true for liquidated damages, where every single day of delay costs a pre-agreed amount of money.
And because so much is riding on it, you can't just be casual about how you send it. The delivery of the NTP is serious business. It's usually sent by certified mail or some other method that provides proof of receipt, so there can never be a dispute down the road about when that clock really truly started.
So, at the end of the day, the Notice to Proceed is all about creating certainty. It protects the owner by setting a firm start for all the deadlines, and it protects the contractor by giving them a clear, official command to start work, making sure they're on the clock and can get paid. It's really the bedrock of the entire project schedule.
And all of this leaves us with one final, interesting thought. We've just seen how the start of a project is handled with this super official, legally binding document, like the firing of a starting gun. Which kind of makes you wonder, right? What about the finish line? If the start is this formal, how do we handle the end? But hey, that's probably a story for another time.